Have a buyer you need pre-approved? Well, the Brian Manning team is available 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we can close as quickly as 10 days. Call me anytime, 303-500-3839.
It's just ingrained in me. I don't know if it's from birth. I mean, I've been this way since, sixth grade, racing the boys, needing to come in number one. I just have always felt that way, yet I don't need a lot of credit. I'm like, I need to feel good about my own top producerness. I don't need to have like an award on the wall and things like that. I just want to do right by my people and be number one and set myself up for the life I want for myself and my kids and be an advocate for my children and let my daughter see what a successful woman looks like.
Balance isn't about standing still. It's not about splitting time perfectly between work and life. That's a myth. Real balance is momentum. It's knowing when to lean in, when to step back, and how to stay in control when everything is moving fast. Brian Manning built his success by rejecting the outdated idea of balance and embracing something better, alignment. The ability to go all in on big goals without losing what matters most. This is Balance in Motion, a new way of thinking, a new way of living. Because the people who achieve the most aren't looking for balance. They're mastering the flow. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everyone. Balance in Motion podcast. Super excited to be here today. Today, our guest is Anne Singleton. Anne is a top producing agent in Denver with Compass. 22 years experience. Is that right, Anne? 22 years in this? My gosh, that's a long time. Anne has built an incredible, remarkable business, grounded long-term relationships, super local. She just knows this Denver market inside out. Anything you need about Denver, I think Anne's just the go-to person. Restaurants, shopping, you name it. She's just kind of been this grassroots agent for a long time, built this reputation. And I feel like in the chaos of this real estate industry that we're in, Anne is always kind of like cool as a cucumber on the outside and just really guiding people through the process. And super excited to be here today, talk with Anne, learn about her journey. Like we've always said, I just think balance is bullshit. I talked to Anne about this in the beginning. We just find that most high producing people almost don't have any balance in their life. I think balance is almost like a 4-letter word in this landscape that we're in. So we're just here to talk with Anne today and learn about what she's doing and how she's getting through everything. So Anne, welcome to the show. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really
My
excited
pleasure.
about it.
I always like to start by going back to the beginning. Like just who you are, how you started, when you knew you wanted to become an entrepreneur, first businesses, like let's just go back to the beginning. Before 22 years in real estate, crushing it in Denver, top agent. Let's go back way before that. Like let's talk more about where you started.
Well, I moved out here pretty much right after grad school. And I got a job at a staffing company, basically. And it was like 44 men and 4 women. And there were only 4 women doing this role that mostly the men were doing. And I wanted to be the top producer there, of course. So it took me about a year and I became the top producer, which was wonderful, thanks in part to my great manager that I had. And we were in the .com industry. So all the US Wests and the Quests and all that stuff that was so big in like 99, 98. Then it burst like completely. And we went from 110 contracts to like 9 contracts and it fell apart. But what I found myself doing on the weekends, every weekend I would do either a triathlon, a half marathon, like a race of some sort. And then I would go and do all of the open houses. I would just go open house to open house to open house. I bought my first property at 24. And I really was fascinated by homes and lifestyle and real estate, but I had no money. I mean, none. Like, I think I had $5,000 to my name when I bought my first house, but you could buy a house with just a pulse at that time. So I bought a house, and when the .com burst and our company folded, I thought, well, I'm on unemployment for like 6 months. I'm going to apply for jobs and I'm going to just get my real estate license. And I did. And I just never looked back. I was like, well, I don't want to hire an agent to sell my own house. So I'm going to get my license so that I don't have to pay a stupid real estate agent. And then I realized how crucial and important that role is. and I just leaned into it. I mean, I just went crazy. And then I realized just how pivotal a role it was. And I went nuts. I never left. I never looked back. And I kind of think of it as front loading because you are an entrepreneur and you are technically making your own hours. Technically, I don't have to like sign a permission slip from my boss when I want to go to my cousin's wedding in Oregon, which happened. And they said no. And that was probably a major leaning point to me. But I'm front loading all these hours now, producing as much as I can now so that someday I can have the life that you want. And then I have this crazy ego that I want to be a top producer just because it's just ingrained in me. I don't know if it's from birth. I mean, I've been this way since, sixth grade, racing the boys, needing to come in number one. I just have always felt that way, yet I don't need a lot of credit. I'm like, I need to feel good about my own top producerness. I don't need to have like an award on the wall and things like that. I just want to do right by my people and be number one and set myself up for the life I want for myself and my kids and be an advocate for my children and let my daughter see what a successful woman looks like. So trying that way.
And does anyone else in your family have that mindset of just like, I just want to be number one? Are you kind of the black sheep in that?
Well, my dad was valedictorian in high school and college, so probably stemmed from him. And
Mhm.
both my parents are both physicians, and my mom was pretty much the only woman in medical school, and then accidentally got pregnant with me. And her dean was like, "You're not going to graduate," and she's like, "I'm going to graduate, and I'm going to be the top 10% of my class," and she was. So, and she's one of the top anesthesiologists in Cleveland, and so I think it came from there. I just always had a really hard work ethic. My grandparents are like, you come from a long line of strong women. So it just kind of filtered down the nest. So
Love it. And then back to the dot-com company. That's pretty impressive to be in, we'll call it a man's world based on the statistics that you described there. What did you do? How did you work your way up to number one there? And did you find anything that translated from there into real estate? But I am curious, like in that scenario, how'd you get your way to the top? What'd you do there?
listening. People love to hear their own name. They love when you remember their name. They love when you remember details about them. They like to talk about themselves. And this is not in a non-altruistic way. I mean, I truly actually love to listen and hear other people's stories. So I stayed quiet quite a bit. When my male counterparts were out doing their schmoozing, I would schmooze as well. I would lean into their kind of deeper needs and try. I think that being a woman actually helped in that industry a little bit because there weren't any. I mean, there really weren't any. And we had to do horrible things back then. Like we had to schmooze if they wanted to go to a strip club, that's where you had to take them. It was that kind of level of schmoozing. And I leaned into that as well and listened, and I had to interview a lot of people, and I put the right people in the right jobs. And I feel like I do that now. I put the right people in the right house. I think that it did translate quite a bit to the future because people have a myriad of needs and they don't always express them. Even a boss looking for a certain person to be their assistant or their right-hand woman or whatever. I feel like if you know how to listen to those things and really meet the needs of your people to the sacrifice of yourself. Like, I'm not going to be chasing the paycheck because then I'll get one paycheck. But if I chase the needs of my client or my manager or my whatever, and I fit them with the right need, no matter what it does for me, I'll get paid for life. That's just that trust that you build, that camaraderie that you build, and having the ability to talk to people. I think that's paramount in any real entrepreneurial industry. You have to know how to talk, how to present yourself, how to listen. Listening is crucial. As
Yeah.
I've talked your ear off here.
No, no, no. The purpose is for you to talk and for us to hear your story. So that's exactly why we're here. I agree with you, and I wonder, especially younger people in the world of social media, so much is about just puking. Look at me, look at me, look at me, and
Thank
there's
God
no
I didn't have
active listening.
Thank God I didn't have that in my 20s and early 30s. That would have been awful, like chasing an impossibility. Like, I couldn't do that. Yeah, I think it's very stressful for entrepreneurs now, and I know that the social media portion breeds a lot of entrepreneurs as well, and it gives the little man a huge national, international platform, which is great. And so I don't hate social media, but I think if you don't rein it in properly, it just leads to just disappointment, sadness, depression, things like that.
Yeah. And I think you kind of answered this already, but in the beginning, you got your license. Was there a time in the beginning where, of course, it's hard and you're struggling at the beginning of any kind of
Hmm.
entrepreneurship or self employment, but was there a time where you're like, shit, this is really hard. I'm struggling, but I can do this. I just like, I got this.
Yes, I mean, 2008 was a life-changing pivotal year in real estate. I think I went 70 grand into credit card debt just trying to survive and keep my head above water, and it was like, "Okay, you need to switch careers now because you can't do this anymore." And then I was like, "Someone the people that survived 2008 in this industry are going to be the top producers." But you had to relearn how to do everything because before it was like, you want a house? There's a house. Let's buy it. You got the loan. We're done. Oh, the sewer line's broken and you don't have any money to fix it? Let's just raise the purchase price, get it to a price higher, and then I'll give you a check at the end to fix the sewer. I mean, that's just how kind of simple it was. So you had to completely relearn how to do everything. And the lending process and all the pieces that fit together that didn't matter as much from 2003 to 2008, it was a pivot, a major pivot, and now everyone has to work together to get these things to go through, and that was my turning point year. If I survived 2008, I knew I was gonna make it, and I did, survived. Paid off all that debt too, eventually.
That's amazing. Are you an investor that does fix and flips, or are you a realtor that has clients that do fix and flips? Well, I can help you make a cash offer and we can close as quickly as 7 days. To learn more about our private hard money lending, call me anytime, 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 303 500 3839. So, how do you find the market now? If you've made it through 2008, I think a lot of people struggle in today's market, but I find people like you that made it through '08, where you're like, shit, this is no big deal. I made it through '08. I just need to put my head down and work. Maybe, you might be working harder to make less than
Yes,
prior years, but
yes.
I don't feel like people like you were phased in a market like this. What are your thoughts on coming out of '08, coming into, we'll call it today's market?
Yeah. Well, it's certainly challenging. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely challenging. You are working twice as hard for a little bit less of a paycheck. It's more disheartening for your people because your sellers, especially if they bought 2020 to 2022, are struggling. They're underneath their home values at this point, and buyers are extremely picky, and there's very low inventory as well. So you've got buyers who are ready to buy who can't, and then you've got sellers who need to sell and can't. And so you have to kind of learn an entire new mentality, but we're going to make it. Like, how that toothpaste is always necessary. Like, eventually it's just going to come back. People are going to be buying and selling and living and dying for the end of days. So you just have to learn how to pivot in the market and suffer a little bit. You're going to suffer a little bit. You're going to make $1 an hour on some of your transactions, and then that brilliant wonderful one where everything just falls into place and goes perfectly well happens, and then you're like, "Oh, this is why I'm doing this." But you have to have perseverance, consistency, and time with your people and respect their process,
Yeah,
and then
that's
you'll
it.
make it.
I love it. '08, '09, I went through a bankruptcy, lost my home to foreclosure, went through a divorce. I lived in South Florida at the time. And it's just one of those things where it just really taught me you just have to keep learning. You have to be willing to keep learning. When the market changes, you have to learn. And it's always going to change. This market's going to change
Right.
that we're in right now to another one, and then another one, and another one. And through your whole career, I think my greatest takeaway was exactly what you said is it's like I always think Snoop Dogg, Snoop Dogg's in his 50s. He just keeps reinventing himself
Reinventing
and he's
with
crushing it.
Martha Stewart now. I mean, like, yes, he reinvents, and that's what you have to do. But so do your buyers and sellers. We all have to reinvent. Like, I've had to convince some sellers, you know what? We can't just put this on the market. You need to paint this room. You need to put curtains here. You need to switch out this light fixture. Well, why? Why would I want to do that? I'm leaving this house. Well, it's a difference of whether you sell it for the most return with the least amount of stress and pressure, or we let it sit and then you just continue to drop the price. These are our choices now. And all we can do is navigate within the parameters of this market. That's all we can do.
That's it. And we talk a lot about on this show, and really the premise of the show is like I just think balance is bullshit. You're trying to navigate learning new markets, changing. Like we already said, you're probably perpetually learning as a strong entrepreneur. I don't really call it balance. To me, it's like flow. It's like the pendulum is always shifting really hard. On one side of the pendulum, it's like work time. Then maybe you leave the country, you go with your family on vacation, and now you're trying to have family time. You're trying to be present and all in with your family, but it never just sits perfectly in the middle.
Oh God, no.
How do you find that flow in your life? It's like married, children, business, all of it. How do you
Well,
how do you handle it?
Well, when you are a top producer, you have that top producer mindset. So not only do you want to be a top producer in work, but you also want to be the best wife, the best cook, the best friend, the best parent. You want to be all of those things. And you also want to take care of your body. That is, I think, for most top producers, some of them are really driven by that. And they're like, no, I get up at 5 a.m. and I go running and that's how I do. And I wish I was that kind of top producer. I really do, but I'm not. I'm absolutely not that. I'm like, I'm going to sleep instead. But I feel like one thing you have to learn as a top producer is you need to staff up, like, especially if you have kids. You got to have some staff in there because you cannot do everything. So I hired someone amazing who I could not live without, who does the things that I could do, but take a level of time that I'm not willing to sacrifice from those other 5 parameters, husband, children, work, body, whatever. And that has just been, you have to let go and let someone, and then, and deal with the feeling judged a little bit that someone else is doing your laundry or emptying your dishwasher. But, do the things that you do best. Like, I don't go and try to operate on people, that's not my forte. So I'm going to do the things that I do best, and I'm going to hire out the things that I don't. Of course, you can't do that with parenting. I don't get to hire out parents, but, I would rather sit with my kid for an hour than do their laundry. So, I think that staffing is important. I also think that when you're a top producer, you know how to do all of the things. So it's very hard to let go and let someone else do all of the things. But you won't make it otherwise. You will not survive. And then sometimes you just need to sit on your porch with a bottle of wine and turn your phone off and just pretend that you're really good at everything and just shut out the world for an hour. I do that as well.
I love that yourself well enough to just kind of say, screw it. I'd rather sleep than exercise. That's amazing. I mean, I get
Wish I
it,
wasn't, but
Yeah,
yes.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just amazing that you know that well enough about yourself that,
I do.
I think everyone recharges differently. Someone's going to
Yes.
recharge through exercise. Someone's going to recharge through, I'll give you an example. My wife, we've talked about this. My wife is Italian. We have family dinner every single night of our life. No matter how crazy the day is, we sit down and we have dinner as a family every single night. And sometimes that dinner is silent because we're just exhausted. Sometimes it's bottles of wine and we're just like, and it varies, but like that's my recharge. So what do you think your recharge is? When you're a very calm person, but there must be a time when there's just like chaos swirling around you.
Every
And you seem calm on the outside, but on the inside, we're not calm. What's your recharge when that's really happening? How do you recharge on that one?
I receive a lot of energy just spending time with people, especially over a meal, over a bottle of wine, over things like that. So my recharge is, Kelly, come over, let's sit on my porch and have a glass of wine, or just get my husband on the back patio and we have a glass of wine. And sometimes it's just like, I'm using wine a lot. So it
I
could be
get
coffee.
it.
It could also be coffee or a martini. But I am also Italian, and my kids, we do treasure our dinners together. And When I can really recharge is when I get to cook like an elaborate, wonderful, beautiful meal and we all sit there and enjoy it and no one's being rushed from one place to another. And then after that, like the kids clean up, the husband and I sit, we drink our wine and we just, then all is right with the world. Or we have guests over and we just kind of hang out and say, oh, let's just sit for one more. That's my recharge. And I enjoy that a lot. And I treasure those times with people. And half of them are my clients anyway, so it's kind of also working a little bit, spending time with my siblings, talking to my parents. I try to travel. That's another complete recharge to me. And, when you're in our industry, it's hard to get away. You don't actually get away. You can be in Paris, but you're going to be on your phone half the time. And you just hope that you're not screwing up your children in the same vein.
My wife and I always joke that we can't travel with anyone because I just work everywhere I go, and we're just like, we have to travel with someone like you or
Yeah.
Kelly Reed or Jeff Klaus or whoever, someone else that's like not phased that I'm working the entire time. Now I'm still gonna have fun. We're gonna have out to dinner and have an amazing time.
Right. You just might be like this
Right.
while you're listening, and that's okay because that's Kelly and I were together yesterday and I was like, it's sometimes just nice to work adjacent with someone. Like we're sitting in the same room, we're conversing a little bit, but we're also working, but we're like together and working. And I just call that like living adjacent. Like that's just all the people I know and my sisters, like those are people you can be adjacent with. I love that. Don't have to necessarily talk the whole time and, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Getting
just
stuff
sharing a
done.
space.
Sharing
Yeah.
a space.
Yeah, I
Sharing
love it. I love that it's people that charge you in
Yeah,
dinners and wine and
it is.
friendships. That's amazing, and it's just so cool in these podcasts that we've done, everyone has something so different, and most people really know just like you know clearly what recharges you, most people know really clearly what it is. Some people, it's a bike ride, some people, it's dinner, and I love
It's
it.
dinner. It's
Nothing
definitely
wrong with that. That's amazing.
dinner.
And then right now, what are you most excited about right now?
I'm really excited for the end of fall when it calms down a little bit and you can decorate your home and like lean into your family time and do some exciting things like that and then regroup for January. I'm really looking forward to 2026. 2025 has been a bit of a dumpster fire with work and interest rates and all the things just blending together and politically. I mean, there's so much going on right now and I'm kind of hoping that 2026 is a little bit of like a spring cleaning, if you will. Like, okay, the interest rates are starting to come down a little bit. Let's get everyone kind of back on board. Let's see a better balanced market. Let's get a little bit more inventory out there. Let's just regroup a little bit. We're far enough from 2020 that I think really shook the world as well with 2.5% interest rates and COVID and all the just crazy things and kind of start over again. And I'd love to see a true balanced market that I think there's a few years we had a balanced market and we just haven't seen that in a decade. And I feel like we're heading that way. Like if interest rates hit like 5, this is my premonition. If they hit about 5, 5.25, I feel like we'll see all will be right in the world. People can sell, people can buy. It'll just be great. So anyone up there who can make that happen, let's go.
I love it. And any projects, anything you're working on personally as well that you're excited about going into 26? I know you've
Well,
had some changes recently with companies and
yep,
stuff, so
yep.
you're probably drinking from a fire hose right now,
I'm drinking
which
from
is definitely not creating any balance in your life, that's for sure.
No, no. It definitely switching companies really was a drinking from fire hose kind of scenario. Just there's so much more to learn and do. And I don't want any of my clients to feel the like, oh, I don't know how to make this video anymore, or oops, this marketing is, I don't know how to do this. So I'm trying to like learn all of it in the background. And I'm calling on a lot of Compass agents that were friends of mine and being like, how do I do this? Where do I put this in? I don't understand. So I'm trying to like make it be seamless for my people so that they don't feel the stress and pressure of it. We just finished our ADU, which was a huge project for 2025. So I'm thrilled about that. And I feel like 2026, we're going to buy a house, like buy an investment. And that's going to be like, get my portfolio together as I try to train my people on, like, get your portfolio together so that your 50s is going to be a no-brainer. We're front loading. We're front loading all of our investments and our things so that our 60s we can finally do what we want to do.
Amazing. I love it. Well, Anne, I'm incredibly appreciative of your time. Thank you so much for being here today. My takeaway is take a break, have dinner, drink some wine, connect with the people that you love, because that's
Connect
really important. And that's my takeaway from today with talking with you. So
and
thanks
staff
for
up.
sharing that. And what's that?
Staff up.
Staff up. Yeah. So staff up. Speaking of which, there's a great book. Dan Martell wrote a book. It's called Buy Back Your Time. And the book, the whole premise of it is taking high producing people like us and recognizing that we're very controlling and we can do everything really well. And we don't want to turn over these responsibilities to other people, and figuring out, even though I can do all of this really well, what can I have someone else help me with to buy back my time to go put into something else, which really should be helping other people at that point in time. So that's a great book for anyone that wants to check it out.
Right.
It's all
Yeah.
about staffing up.
Dan
Yeah.
Mark. Got it.
Yeah. Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. So, Anne, thank you so much for being here today. Really great to spend some time with you. Cheers to a great upcoming 2026.